Hello, everyone. This is Mike from Dimensional Walking. And today we're going to title this, this is going to be a part one, a part of two parts. And we're going to call this UFOs, Crop Circles, and a New King. So, with that wonderful title, of course, as you probably know, I'm talking about King Charles. So it's unusual to say that because I've been saying Prince Charles for so long, and now it's King Charles. Good for him. Anyways, King Charles has had a lifetime interest in UFOs and crop circles. And basically, this has been, for him, has been kind of a family affair. He has been kind of inspired or motivated or stimulated by two people in his family, and maybe others, but these are two I know a little bit about. One is his uncle. It would be his great uncle, Mountbatten, Lord Mountbatten, and his father Philip, Prince Philip, who has since passed. Actually, I think he passed. Just recently. He was, I think, a year shy of 100. He was 99 years old. He passed last year. So. And I think Lord Mountbatten, he died in 1979. Okay? So, anyways, let's talk first of all, is quite established. I don't think it's any real secret. I'm not telling anything new about the UFOs, anyways, that Charles has been interested in for a long time. But let me give you a little background on why he's been interested in it. First of all, let's talk about his father. His father has amassed, and I'm sure it still exists, a great collection of books on UFOs, and I'm sure I'm sure the Queen also had access to those books. I'm sure she probably had some interest in it, but there's really nothing documented that she was a really big fan of it. But that's why we're going to talk about Philip, because we know something about Philip. So recently, and this is fairly recent, this is just before he died, there was some information that came out that he was reading a book called Halt Perspective. And Halt Perspective was a book that was about the Rendlesham Forest incident, which is quite a famous incident. I think everybody that's been in and around UFOs knows about the incident. It was on actually it's on two Air Force bases. I know one for sure was considered a U.S. Air Force base in England. And I think they were kind of right next to each other, these two bases. And apparently they both had this pretty incredible experience, this UFO encounter, which these lights were flying around, and they encountered groups of military people. Now, let's talk a little bit of side note. Something interesting that happened to me that dealt with that is when I lived in Albuquerque. I was into distribution. I was a general manager of a distribution company there in Albuquerque. And I used to, of course, part of my job was to hire people. So strange things always happen to me. And all of a sudden, this guy comes in the door and he's looking for a job. But I'm not even sure why he started telling me this, but he did. Apparently, he claimed, and I believe him, that because he had some really interesting detail, that he was actually on the base during this incident, the base in England. And he said that even though he was not directly involved with the incident, he was on the base and he was part of the debrief, because it was so mind-boggling, this encounter apparently, that the whole base had to be debriefed. So basically, in the debrief, they actually told him a little bit about it, and it seemed to confirm everything that I had heard, written or in books about this particular incident. Anyways, the other thing he did provide me, he did pull out of his wallet, he did provide me with a very official looking credentials that placed him on the base, on that particular base at that time. And it would actually happen in the early 80s. I think it was, let's see, I think it was December 1980, actually. So his credentials definitely placed him there. So I felt pretty confident what he was telling me was absolutely, absolutely correct. So anyway, going back to Philip, he was super interested in the subject matter. He also, one of his other favorite books, and is a book that I've taken a look at, was called Haunted Skies. And that was one that talks about, it's almost like an encyclopedia of British UFO sightings. And it's pretty comprehensive. It's pretty incredible book. It was quite thick, if I remember correctly. So it just goes to show that they've had a lot of sightings over the year. So Prince Philip's been interested in this for a very long time. And his interest probably came from Lord Mountbatten, okay, which is his uncle, which would make that Charles's great uncle, okay. And Lord Mountbatten, by the way, I'll tell you, he died in 1979. So Charles would have been about, Charles would have been about 18 or 19 years old at that time. So I guess he would have probably talked to him also. But anyways, Lord Mountbatten actually did a very official report on a sighting that he personally had on his property in Hampshire, in England. And there was actually a witness. Not only was it Lord Mountbatten that saw this UFO hover over his property, a large one. He also, there was somebody on the property that was doing some work for him. I think he's a bricklayer, and he was doing some work for him. And apparently he saw the same thing, and he actually saw a being coming out of the ship. Was wearing a helmet, and he said it looked like they were wearing overalls, but I don't really know what that means. Although there's been aliens that have come out of ships looking like their outfit, their uniform is like a overall type thing. So anyways, apparently this guy had a really close encounter, because apparently I guess he was on a bike or something, driving around the property on his bike. And I guess the thing, some kind of a strange force, knocked him off the bike, and then kind of held him to the ground. That's the story. Okay. So, anyways, Mountbatten did this very serious report to the military. Now he's part of the military, so he's got some pretty good inside information, and stayed in contact with him before he died. I believe it was some kind of a boat accident or an assassination or something. Pretty crazy stuff. But anyways, so Lord Mountbatten probably inspired Philip, and Philip again inspired Charles. So they really, really got into this whole UFO thing, and I thought it was pretty incredible from that standpoint. So, I guess the question I want to leave everybody with on this part one, is, so now Charles has got this real interest in UFOs, always has. So my question would be, will he motivate or stimulate a disclosure movement in England? Or will he just kind of stay with his kingly duties? I don't know. I think, I always say that it seems to me, everybody I've talked to, myself included, when I talk to myself, I think it's hard to get, once you get into UFOs and get into aliens and get into all kind of paranormal stuff, it's really hard just to stop it and not continue it. So my suspicion is he will probably continue it. And if it gets to a point, and he'll probably encourage the military in England to go ahead like the United States has, and basically started disclosing some interesting things. So my belief is he will motivate. It'll probably be behind the scenes. He won't do it to, he won't like make a speech on it or anything like that. I don't believe that, but he will definitely motivate behind the scenes because he has a really strong interest in UFOs. So, okay, so that's the end of part 1. I just want you to give you a little flavor on that. Part 2, we're going to talk about crop circles. I have another very interesting story I wanted to share with you about Charles and his interest in crop circles. So I won't tell you too much more on that. You have to come and see part 2, which will be in the next few days. Anyway, so that's it. So if you like us, please like us. We need your subscriptions. So please, if you want to contact us directly with questions, besides commenting here, you can contact us at dimensionalwalking@gmail.com. And as Roy Rogers always said, happy trails until we meet again. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.